Well, to discuss today's top stories, I'm joined by Nationals leader David Littleproud. Good morning to you. Lots to cover off today, but let's first chat about the latest news poll showing support for the coalition has increased. The race is tightening. Is this a sign Australia is following in the footsteps of the US? Is this a trend?
Oh, well, look, I think we're uniquely different to the United States, but I think the issues that do remain the same is inflation and the cost of living. And Australians have been asking themselves, do they feel better off after 2.5 years of Anthony Albanese? We as a coalition have been talking about that for some 2 years. And while Trump may have used that line, I think that's the question we've been saying to Australians. Do they feel better off? And they haven't, because much of the inflation that's been created in this country has been created in Canberra under Anthony Albanese, Jim Chalmers and Chris Bowen. They haven't tackled the fundamentals that's driving up your inflation, which is affordable energy, proper food prices, and they're intertwined, and tackling immigration in trying to actually make sure that we give hope for people to own a home and rents might come down. So we'll have a simple plan around those elements to take the Australian people, and I think they're open to listening because they're hurting.
Well, there are a lot of lessons for Australia to learn from the US election, but as you just mentioned, one of those key lessons from the outcome of the US election is that the economy matters. Treasurer Jim Chalmers says US policy under Donald Trump, though, will have a minimal immediate impact on Australia's economy. Do you agree with that? What about the longer-term impact?
Yeah, I think a Trump presidency will be different to his candidacy, and I think that's a good thing. He obviously used a lot of language during the campaign that differentiated himself from Kamala Harris, and that was his pathway to victory. But I think if you reflect on the last Trump administration, it was a sound one. I think we were able, as a coalition government, to work with him, even on some of the more contentious areas around tariffs and imposing tariffs. We were able to get that Australia carved out. Now, the pressure will be on this government with Anthony Albanese and Kevin Rudd, who have publicly demonised President Trump previously, whether they'll have the ability to carve us out if he makes some of those edicts come true around tariffs. But we're prepared to work constructively with the Trump administration. And I think we've been doing the heavy lifting on AUKUS as well. I'm more confident about Trump supporting AUKUS because we are doing our fair share. We are doing some of the lifting with them, whereas I think some of the challenges that NATO have presented the US administration about not funding their fair share means that we probably do have an inside running, so long as we get those parameters right with the Prime Minister and Kevin Rudd being able to work constructively with the President despite their past comments.
Yeah, well, just on that, do you think Kevin Rudd is the right person for that job?
Well, I think this is where we've got to be candid and look through the cold, hard light of day. And if Kevin Rudd can't get us the results, and if these tariffs come in, and if he can't carve us out, I think we need to make sure that there is a close line. And the Prime Minister needs to be upfront with the President and apologise for his language, but also Kevin Rudd. And obviously, if the President doesn't feel comfortable with Kevin Rudd being there, then Australia should take action about replacing him. And putting someone there that we can work with, because there will be some contentious decision he makes, and our economy shouldn't be hurt because of past indiscretions of people who should know better. Both have been Prime Minister of this country and aspire to that office. Should not have been making disparaging comments about someone else that in another democracy around the world. That's not what political leaders internationally would do. And now they find themselves, they put Australia in a position where we could be disadvantaged. If we are, then the Prime Minister should act and act swiftly.
Yeah, indeed. Should Peter Dutton revisit support for net zero by 2050?
No. And while President Trump's made some soundings about that, you've got to understand your place in the world. There are 330 million people. We're 27 million people. We're a trading nation. The only people that are hurt out of that will be our farmers and our mining sector, because what will happen is, while we think we can go and lead the world on it, what will happen is we'll get a tariff whacked on our commodity. So we might want to beat our chest and sound big about it, but you've got to understand where the world is. The world has all signed up to this, but we don't need to experience what the country is at the moment, which is trying to achieve it all by 2030. We'll do it in a uniquely Australian way, and we'll take our time to do it and do it properly so that there is an impact on the economy. And that's why, as leader of the Nationals, I'm the first leader to be able to get the coalition to agree to nuclear energy being part of that grid, to have that complemented and supplemented with gas and coal with CCS, and having some renewables. We'll have a balance, we'll do it properly, we'll do it sensibly, but I think we should just take a deep breath on trying to be Trump-esque here in Australia, because there are unintended consequences, and they are farmers and miners.